Basis, reference. There's, okay, so Zeraya is the neck of the chicken. Even though the translation of Zeraya is the arm, the reason why it's called arm tells in the Torah that Hashem took us out with an outstretched arm. But we use the neck of a chicken. The reason why we use the neck of a chicken is brought down because the neck is connected to the back. And it says that the Egyptians made us work very hard, like they broke our back. So that's why I use the neck of the chicken, because the neck is connected to the back and they broke our back, back breaking work. So that's the idea why we use the neck of a chicken. So the neck of the chicken is roasted, and the custom is that we remove almost all the meat. After it's roasted, we remove almost all the meat from it before we put it on the Seder plate. What's the reason? Why you remove that was the meaning of the feeding Rabbi, would remove almost all the meat. The reason is it should not have any resemblance to the current Pesach. Okay, so let's back up. It shouldn't have a resemblance to the current Pesach. Now, why is it there? It's there to commemorate the current Pesach. The times of the Beis Hamikdash, they would have in front of them on the Seder table meat from the current Pesach. Now, there's no current Pesach, so we have the Zreh to commemorate the current Pesach. But we don't want to have a real resemblance because it's going to give the impression like we brought a current Pesach. You can't bring a current Pesach. There's no Beis Hamikdash. So that's why the meaning of the feeding Rebbe was to remove almost all the meat from the neck. You have to leave some meat, because otherwise it's nothing, it's just bones. You have to leave something. And that's the Zroya. The Beya, the Beitza, many pronounce it Beya, but anyways, that's the egg. The egg resembles the carbon chagiga. So there's another sacrifice that was brought, which was called the carbon chagiga. Maner, the bitter herbs. Times the Beis Hamikdash, when they had the current Pesach, it was minat Torah, it was biblical to eat mar. These days it's rabbinic. Yeah, mar these days is midrabban, is rabbinic. Then it was minat Torah, because the Torah says you should eat the Pesach sacrifice with matzah and mar together. There's no current Pesach. So we're eating mar to commemorate what they did back then, the times of the Beis Hamikdash, that ate the Pesach sacrifice with matzah and mar together. That's why we eat the mar. That's why, according to Hillel, if you remember, there's a sandwich, matzah mar. Mm-hmm. Why do we do that? According to Hillel, that's how we do the mitzvah, because he holds the times of Beis Hamikdash, it was actually a sandwich. So if you want to commemorate how they did the times of Beis Hamikdash, he says you got to do it matzah mar together. So the whole idea of the sandwich is to do the mitzvah of mar, which is rabbinic, according to Hillel's view. So that's the mar. Chazeres is romaine lettuce. Okay, they're both mar. So let's finish this and we'll get to this. Charosis is the paste. It's a paste of apples, walnuts, and wine. You crush it, you mix it together, and there are those that will not mix it with the wine, or they'll make with wine and without wine. The reason why you also want to have some charesis without wine is because the mar is dipped into the charesis, and then it's put into the sandwich, matzah mar together. We have mar separate, they have mar with the matzah. You don't want the matzah to get wet. We are careful with gebrachs. So the mar is dipped into charesis. Charesis is with wine. Wine has water usually. So the charesis that you use for the sandwich, you don't want to have any wine in it. So that's why we have charesis. Many people will make charesis without wine, and then they will. Now, for the first mar that we did charesis, there should be wine. Okay, so you can't just have charesis without wine, because for charesis, that's the first mar they did charesis is supposed to be with wine, right, Valerie? So that's why many people make with wine and make some without wine. Or what the Rebbe used to do is the Rebbe used to take the charesis that did not have any wine. That's what it says. I didn't see exactly how he did it. That's what's written up. That he would take it's called the dry charesis. It's called dry. It didn't have any wine in it. It wasn't really dry. There's ground apples and walnuts together. But it's called the dry charesis because there's no wine in it. And they would put that into the plate that's under the becher that had wine spills out a little bit onto the plate. I think it's called a saucer. Yeah. And he would take some charesis, put it into the wine, smush it around, and that's the charesis that he used for the maror, not for the sandwich. And then for the sandwich, he only had the dry charesis. There's no wine in it. Get it? Okay, so there's the charesis. Then comes the karpas. Karpas, we said, is an onion. We said that the Rebbe, even during the war, traveled across the border to get it. So you should have onion. You could also use potato. The men just have onion. Samach. We go backwards. Samach. How do you read this? Perech. We have in Pasha Shemais, the Jews who worked very hard in Zion, Avodas Perech. That word ring a bell? Hard labor, Perech. The beginning of Pasha Shemais. Samach, 60 times 10,000, because we don't have such a number in English for 10,000. We have numbers for 100,000, then we have a million, billion, trillion. We don't have a number for 10,000. But in Torah, Lashon HaKodesh, we have a number for 10,000. Riboy. Riboy is Shishim. How many Jews left Mitzrayim? There's Shishim, as referring to the men. Shishim Riboy. 60. Does ring a bell? Shishim Riboy? Ring a bell? Shishim Riboy? Riboy means 10,000. 60 times 10,000 is 600,000. So 60 times 10,000 is the 600,000 people that left Mitzrayim. Perech worked very hard. So it's hinted in the word just that we worked very hard in Mitzrayim. Now, so the karpas we said is the onion, the potato. Now chazeres. Okay, now getting back to this, and we started talking about the maror. The maror is the bitter herbs. Chazeres is the romaine lettuce. Maror could be either horseradish or romaine lettuce. Halachically, you can choose whichever you want. Halachically. V'ni Chabad is that, what? Anyone else? What's V'ni Chabad? That we use both. V'ni Chabad is specifically to use both, specifically. According to halacha, it's either or. According to halacha, which one is preferable? Which is preferable? Chazeres, the romaine lettuce. Why? Even though it's not bitter, because the romaine lettuce resembles our bitterness in Mitzrayim. How does the romaine lettuce resemble our bitterness in Mitzrayim? Because what was the method Pari used to enslave the Jewish people? He came all of a sudden, there was a decree, like a Hashvedish, all the Jews have to go to labor. No, he didn't do it like that. That's not how he did it. He did it. He went down and said to the Jewish people, come, let's do. We're going to work together. We're going to build something amazing, and I'm going to pay you for it. And every brick that you make, or you whatever either you make or put whatever it was, or cement it, for every brick, you're getting a gold coin. Imagine if you're given you gotta have a job, and for every as much as you produce, you get like a nice amount of money. What do? How do you work? You put in all your energy. You're excited. Like you put in all your, like you're making money. Like it's gonna bring right. So you imagine they put all their koches into it. But at the end of the day, Pari said, "Let's count up how many bricks they made." The Pari said, "Okay, from now on, that's the amount of bricks you're gonna produce every single day for no pay." So it started very sweet, then it became bitter. That's why we use the romaine lettuce. What was connected to the romaine lettuce? Because the romaine lettuce, the stem is bitter, but in the beginning the stem is sweet. it stays in the ground and it becomes bitter. That's why it's preferable to use romaine lettuce. But many Chabadis will use both. I assume the reason is because we should feel the bitterness. As we mentioned, the Rebbe used to use large portions of myrrh, of the horseradish, not ground. The Rebbe used ground, also pieces of one ground. They said the Rebbe took a very large amount. Okay, so we finished the Cairo. Any questions before we go on? Oh, yeah. Okay, so now the romaine lettuce, so it has to be checked. We're not going to discuss the halachos of checking lettuce. That's in the kashrus class. However, it's supposed to be checked. Usually, people soak it in salt water. Maybe it's different. Just showing you about it, and you check it. Now, here's what's important in terms of the seder, and that is the chazeres. Oh, by the way, when you make the same plate, you put both on both. It's just a different name. But on the same plate, over here you put horseradish and romaine lettuce. Over here you put horseradish and romaine lettuce. You put both in both places. It's just a different name. Now, it's important that the romaine lettuce should be dry, shouldn't be wet. Usually it's wet. Just, especially the first night. Just washed it, you checked it, it's good, nice and fresh, has some moisture. But the romaine lettuce is put together with the matzah. It's myrrh. So you want to keep in mind that the romaine lettuce they use for the sandwich should be dry. Now, either you dry the paper towels or you leave it in an open space. So actually, you do both together. You dry it, and there's still some moisture left. It's hard to make it completely dry, and it takes a lot of time. So if you dry pretty much, and then you leave it out in an open space, it will finish drying. As opposed to if you dry it and you put it in a sealed jar, you seal it, then it keeps the moisture inside. So you want to keep it in an open space that it should be dry completely when it gets to the sandwich. The zraya, we're not allowed to eat the nights of the Seder because it resembles the current Pesach. It's to commemorate the current Pesach. That's what it's for. So we're not supposed to eat it the nights of the Seder. You can eat it during the day, but I think there's a meaning brought down. This thing this morning, I think it's brought down a meaning that we don't eat it at all. We don't. But I look for you could eat it during the day, but I'm pretty sure meaning is that we don't eat it at all. However, there can be a situation where you will be required to eat it during the day. How could that be going to be required to eat it during the day? That is, if it comes the night of the Seder and you realize, oops, I didn't roast the zraya. Could you roast the night of Yom Tov? Anyone? Can you roast? Are you allowed to cook in Yom Tov? Yeah. For the purpose of eating. But you can't eat it. So you have to eat it the following day. You can't eat it at night. So if you roast it at night, you have to eat it the following day. So then you're going to have to eat it the following day. And the following night, you'll have fun again roasting another one. So make sure you roast it before Yom Tov. Now, another halacha in connection to this is that we're not supposed to eat any roasted meat the nights of the Seder. So it shouldn't have any resemblance to the current Pesach. And not only can't eat roasted meat, we can't eat roasted chicken. And not even if it's not roasted, even if it's baked without liquid, so it's not roasted, but because it's sort of like close to, it could be confused with roasting. So it says in Shulchan Aruch you cannot eat even plain baked chicken, but if it's baked without liquid, chicken, meat, whatever, baked without any liquid, it's just, you put it into the oven, this chicken just like that without any sauce, you're not supposed to eat the nights of the Seder. So if you're baking chicken meat, you should put some sauce in it. It shouldn't be just plain chicken baked for the nights. For the nights, the day is okay, just for the nights. According to Halacha, you're not allowed to eat any matzah on Erev Pesach. Minik Chabad is that we don't eat matzah starting from 30 days before Pesach. However, everything else that's on the Seder plate, according to Halacha, you're allowed to eat. Minik Chabad is that anything that's on the Seder plate and is being used for the mitzvah, we do not eat on Erev Pesach. So that is the maror, Roman lettuce, horseradish, anything that goes into the charosis. Means we avoid drinking wine, eating apples, nuts on Erev Pesach. Up until, and this continues from the morning of Erev Pesach. I'm not sure about the night of Erev Pesach. I think it's only the morning. I think it's from the morning. And this custom continues until the second night of Pesach. Until when? Until when you finish eating the sandwich. When you finish eating the sandwich on the second night of Pesach, you finish doing all the mitzvahs. Now you want to eat apples and nuts, all these things you can have. Yeah. So on a practical note, we have chrein every Shabbos and Yom Tov with the fish, right? So the first night of Pesach and the first day, we do not have any. There's no chrein on the fish. The second night we could, because when we're eating the Suda, we already finished doing all the mitzvahs. So then you can have whatever we discussed there that you can have. The second night of the Suda, you can already have. It's already after the sandwich. Yeah.
3 days before Pesach, it's only you can't eat shmura matzah or square matzah.
The custom is primarily for the shmura matzah. You talking about the chametz matzah?
No, it's just like the. Yeah, that's fine.
Square meaning the machine baked shmur matzah, or you mean matzah they sell in the store that's chametz? Okay, if it's shmura matzah, that's machine matzah, which we don't use on Pesach, but it's shmura matzah, people use it, so that would be included. If it's chametz, it's not really included, but there are those that are strict and say it's best to refrain even from chametz matzah. Better, but primarily the meaning is primarily for the matzah that you should say that. That's really what it's about. Okay. On Erev Pesach, also, we do not say Mizmer the Seder. So the paragraph that says after Baruch Shamar, Mizmer the Seder, right? Hariyah Hashem Koloretz, Ivdas Hashem B'Simcha, right after Baruch Shamar. We skip on Pesach, and we also skip it during Pesach. Cholamayit. Yom Tov, we never say Mizmer Seder. So Cholamayit, we skip that paragraph. Interested in the reason? No? Mm-hmm. Reason is because it speaks about this is the carbon table, Thanksgiving offering that a person would have to bring the time to be a mikdash. He was saved from, let's say, saved from an accident or saved or traveled overseas, etc., things like that. And part of the sacrifice was to bring matzahs and breads that were chametz. Some Pesach you can't, and even Erev Pesach they couldn't do it because you would have to burn them by a certain time, and we're not supposed to bring sacrifices and things that are holy that have a certain amount of time you have to eat it by. And now, if they're bringing on Erev Pesach, they'll be limited by the time how long they can eat it. And now you have to, when you limit the time of eating, chances are you won't be able to eat it in the right amount of time, and then you're supposed to burn it. So it's not proper to create a situation of sacrifice and breads that have kedusha, that have holiness to it, and have to be eaten within a certain time. But now you're causing it that it becomes possible, it becomes invalid and leftover, and you have to burn it. So they would not bring the carbon taida on Erev Pesach, and Pesach for sure you can't have chametz. So that's why you don't say mizmor seder. Yeah, understood? Okay, so all these things you have to keep in mind to prepare on Erev Pesach. We could discuss, if you didn't, I think we did discuss a little bit before, but if you want to discuss a little more, what happens if you didn't? What happens if you didn't grind the horseradish? We discussed it yesterday, right? Alter says you can't grind it on Yom Tov, just make chunks. And what else? The Charay says you could mix it together. The grinding, you didn't do the Charay says grinding the apples most probably could be an issue. The milk for sure is going to be an issue. So, but mixing is not a problem. The kneading, you're allowed to knead on Yom Tov. You also have to prepare salt water on Erev Pesach. Other things that we don't eat on Pesach. Now we're talking about Pesach in general. We refrain from eating garlic and radishes. That's min Chabad. We don't eat garlic and radishes. It's brought down that the Tzemach Tzedek prohibited eating radishes without giving a reason. There's certain things that they prohibit without saying a reason. And the reason why they didn't say a reason, if you want to know, is brought down because if they give a reason, people would say, "Oh, this is the reason." So that's why in this situation it's okay because once you know the reason, you play with it. So it didn't give a reason.
For garlic also?
It says regarding radishes. And some said it prohibited without giving a reason. Regarding radishes, garlic is brought down. I think it's brought in other sources that we don't eat garlic. Now there's a minhag that we have a separate pot for cooking eggs. Meaning you don't use the same pot that you cook your food on Pesach for eggs, because eggs, it's with the shell, right? Usually peel everything. You can't peel the egg before you cook it, right? It's one thing you can't peel, right?
Right.
So we have a separate pot for cooking eggs. Some have a custom, not saying you have to take the custom, but there are some that have a custom that they cook the sugar before Pesach, which is actually a good idea. I mean, it's something you don't have to take care upon yourself, but it's from the stringencies that eventually you want to do. Sugar that you use on Pesach to cook it before Pesach, because in case there's something in it, there's some chametz inside of it, if you cook it before Pesach, it becomes nullified. The 60 against it becomes nullified. But if you cook it on Pesach, let's say you cook sugar on Pesach, let's say. Now, of course, halachically, and the reality is there's no chametz in the sugar, but there's a stringency. Maybe there's something in it. Now, if let's say there's a drop of chametz, we discussed this already, and you cook it, everything becomes chametz.
Right, yeah.
So you cook it before Pesach in case something in there becomes nullified. Yeah.
So the nullification only happens when it's cooked, that's why we would have to cook it.
That's why we cook it before Pesach in case there's some chametz in there, so it becomes nullified. Correct.
And it becomes nullified before Pesach.
Oh, you're saying that if you're using the sugar without cooking it, so why cook it? But the point is, you're not cooking it, but you're using it. You're putting it into your coffee, let's say, right? So if there's chametz in there, it's the same idea. It's gonna mix into the.
So that it mixes kind of into itself.
Yeah, I mean, right. I believe we discussed if you find matzah was folded over on Pesach. Well, we discussed that already, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's discuss a little bit about kashering. A little bit about kashering for Pesach. I don't think I'll just talk about everything. I don't think everything is relevant to you at this point, but we can discuss a little bit about kashering. What's the idea of kashering kalim to make it kosher? The idea is, oh, you already learned about kashrus already, so you know about this already, so you don't really have to talk about it.
Like that about the concept that the waste.
Whatever's absorbed in it,
Yeah.
whatever the absorption in it is not kosher. When you cook food in a keli that's not kosher, the absorption of the keli is coming down into your food.
Yeah.
So it has to be kashered. Now, really, after 24 hours, whatever comes out is stale, but the chatchila was supposed to kasher it. Because if you're going to tell a person you don't have to kasher it, because 24 hours passed, you might use the keli even if 24 hours didn't pass, and the taste that comes out is a viable taste. Now, for Pesach, I guess we'll discuss a little bit about Pesach, and the custom is that we kasher the sink. We kasher the counters, because even the sink, hot chametz gets to the sink. Sometimes, if let's say you boiled a pot of spaghetti and you're pouring the spaghetti into the sink, and some hot spaghetti touches the sink, hot oatmeal, hot soup, and then on Pesach we open up the hot water. There's a connection between and Pesach, even a drop of chametz does not become nullified. Whereas when it comes to other prohibitions, not necessarily so strict, because it becomes nullified with 60, but Pesach nothing becomes nullified. So the way we kasher it is that if you're living in a private house, you will put up the boiler to the highest temperature, which will make the water very, very, very hot, dangerously hot. And then you let the water run, so now it kashers the inside, the pipe inside, right? And then you take hot water from a kettle, you use a keli, you don't use a Pesach dika keli for kashering. And we don't use a chametz dika. You don't use a real chametz dika keli for kashering. We use a keli that's officially chametz, but not like really chametz. Which means like use a kettle. Let's say it's not paslik, it's all year round on the counter, but you don't cook chametz in it. Or even a pot that you cooked chametz. Let's say if you don't have that, if you have a pot that you didn't use for 24 hours from chametz, you can use that also to kasher with it.
Like to put for the hot water.
To boil water in it. Practically the kettle, those kettles, the button you press down and boil, that's what I use. I have two of them. And then because you use it, it's like this, when you finish one, you right away refill it, and when you use the other one, you go back and forth. Now, when you're kashering the sink, one day you'll be involved with it, and even if you're not doing it yourself, but you'll be able to help people do it this way, right? So very important when you kasher the sink is that there's all the chatchil. It's not b'diavad. It's not going to be valid. But see, you want to have it as hot as possible. You want that when the hot water, it's the surface, it should be dry. So a general rule, whenever you kasher something, first you make sure it's clean, there's nothing stuck to it. It's a general rule, and dry. So, because if it's wet and the hot water hits the surface and it's wet, it's not going to have the same effect, right? Because it cools it off. So when you're kashering the sink, if you're kashering from the top, and then you're going from the top to the bottom, by the time you get to the bottom, it's already wet. Get it? You get what I'm saying? Going from the top to, let's say you go to start with the nozzle. You should have gave the share by the sink over there. So what I'm saying. You start from this is the sink. This is works pretty good, actually. Good. So, as you can't see what's doing in the sink. So instead of going like this and then going like that, you start all the way from the bottom and then you go up. It's like this. Wherever you're touching, it's dry. Get it? Chatchila, that again, if someone didn't do it this way, doesn't mean it's not valid. It's all stringencies to kasher the sink. But you want to do it a better way, you start from the bottom up. Get it? It's like this. Why? If you start from the top and going down, means when you get to the bottom, it's already wet from before. If you start from the bottom going up, wherever the hot water is hitting is dry. right?
Yeah, but if it's already wet with the hot water, then it's like you
What?
put hot water in it, no?
Let me
Like
see.
if you're pouring from the top, you're pouring it also.
No, a top means, let's say, there's a sink. This, you pour, let's say you're starting to pour on the nozzle, right? What's it called? The spouts, right? Yeah. You can pour in that. Then you're going down. Then you're going around. Then you're doing the walls of the sink, right? You're doing the walls of the sink. Inside the walls, going lower and lower and lower. Water goes down. That means every spot where I'm going down is already wet. So when the water hits it, you're hitting a wet surface. Now, doesn't mean it's not doing anything. It's still spoiling water, but it's not the same effect because it's been cooled off by when it hits the surface. You start on the bottom and you go up, so you're always hitting a dry surface. That's how it should be done. And after you finish kashing with hot water, you pour cold water. Reason is, so there's a concern that after you kash something with hot water, the absorption might go back inside. So the cold water cools it off, then it should go back inside. Now, even if it does go back inside, let's say, it doesn't mean that the kashering is worth nothing, just so you understand. Because the fact that it transferred a few times, that weakens it. And dealing with something that's a permitted taste, because chametz is still permitted, so when it transfers a few times, it goes down in its potency. It's not the same. As opposed to if the absorption was a prohibited taste, then even if it transfers back and forth, but if it's a prohibited taste, it's still a problem. So even if that's why it says when you kash, you should make sure that there's going to be kash in a keli where there's going to be 60 in the water. There's going to be 60 in the water against the absorption. Okay, I wasn't planning to go into the explanations, but I already started, so I'll just finish this. In other words, let's say you're kashering a keli. Okay, just explain a little bit. It's not practical. Let's say you're kashering a keli, a small keli and a big keli. And the big keli is fairly large, and you put it into the keli to kasher, the absorption is going out into the water, right? I fill up a pot with hot water, then I put another keli to kasher. The keli is big, the absorption is going out. Now, if there's no 60 in the water against the keli, so the absorption that goes out into the water, now the water becomes prohibited, right? So chatchili, you want there should be 60 in the water against it. Chatchili, you want that before you kasher it, you make sure the keli was not used for 24 hours. Chatchili. Because if it wasn't used for 24 hours, then the taste is not a prohibited taste anymore. So even if the taste goes out and comes back, it's anyways a permitted taste. Okay? Okay, that's what I wasn't planning to go into all explanations. We already started explaining, so yeah.
This isn't about countertops. What if we can't?
About what?
Countertops. What if you can't wash your countertops?
Marriage hops?
Countertops.
Okay, so
Well, so my family, our countertops, we can't wash it, we can't wash them, or else we're gonna set the house on fire. What do we do?
What?
no,
Good point.
countertops you could kasher with hot water, not with a blowtorch.
Don't think it would be wise for our house.
Hot water,
Really hot water, no.
it's not going to tolerate it.
No, this
What-
is from
what-
like the 1960s. It's,
That's interesting. What material is it?
they think it's formica, but it's really old.
I always heard that from mica you can't use a hot iron with it, but hot water, I never heard that. Okay, if you say you can't use hot water, so I would say, what about if it's not so hot? If you lower the temperature a little bit, like you,
I think we're kind of scared to try.
so just clean it well and cover it really well. In other words, halachically, if you cover it well, if there's no actual tangible chametz and you cover it well, that no heat is going to get to it, halachically there's no problem really. The reason why we kasher it is because we're concerned because hot food is being put in it. What if the hot food leaks through? Whatever. So it's stringency. So if you can't, you can't. Yeah.
You said the nozzle also needs to be kosher, right? like the,
Yeah, the whole thing, because you take sometimes a pot of spaghetti, put it under the spout, right? And the vapor goes up, the absorption between the comments and spout, right?
okay. And also, if you kosher this thing, do you need to also cover it like in the side?
The sink, no, we can get to that. Yeah, the custom is that even after we kasher the sink, we cover it also. Why? Just in case it wasn't kashered properly. Sometimes there's a backup from the sink, comes out, it could sometimes come out, it backs up, and you have stuff that's inside that comes out. Chametz that's sitting in the pipes. So this doesn't come out into the sink. You have a sink insert. And by the way, it's a good idea that if you're able to pour some chemicals into the sink before Pesach, down the drain, to burn out whatever pieces are inside the pipes. I'm not saying it's a requirement. It's ideal, so it avoids any issues. Because we're careful even with a drop of chametz, so the pipes could have some chametz in the pipes stuck there. So the chemicals you pour down cleans it out.
Mhm. And what about the things that people put in the place where the water comes out, like to, you know what I mean?
A little shmata.
Yeah, I think.
A lot of Banim don't hold of this because it just collects
Right.
chametz.
So it's not, that's just some
It's
people's.
not recommended. I see some hold it, and you could do it. It's not. My father doesn't hold of it. I think a lot of Banim don't, because it's collecting. What it's doing? It's collecting dirt. It's
Right.
collecting. Why is it there? In case there's chametz. So there's chametz coming up. So now you're collecting all the chametz inside your house on Pesach. It's not. Yeah. On a practical note for koshering is that many people have fillings, braces, dentures, and you eat hot chametz all year round. So though halachically it's not an issue, because the time the food gets into your mouth, it's not so hot, but it's a good idea to do some level of koshering according to the matching the amount of heat that the chametz came into your mouth. And that is, you take a cup of hot water, you drink sometimes hot tea, hot coffee, it's right. You could tolerate a certain amount of heat without hurting yourself. You take a hot cup of coffee tea, as much as you're comfortable tolerating, maybe a drop, a little discomfort, you'll be fine. And you drink it, and you sip it, and you change different places in your mouth where you sip it slowly, and that koshers the fillings, the dentures, whatever you have. And it's a good idea not to eat or drink hot chametz 24 hours before you do it.
When do you do this, Erev Pesach?
The Pesach, yeah, in the morning again. Yeah. And then sometimes you have a ring, and when you ring, you in the kitchen, kneading challah, hot chametz, so there can be absorption into your ring, also some level of absorption. And then Pesach again, you're in the kitchen with the same ring, right? So it's a good idea if you could also do some level of caution for the ring, whatever it could tolerate. You have to find out what heat it could tolerate. Be careful. And whatever that level of heat is, that's what you do. Put it into hot water or pour hot water over it. Yeah, these are not logically required, and if you don't do it because the level of absorption is minuscule, because if you don't burn yourself, so how hot could it be? But that's a proper thing to do.
So if you drink the hot water, like to kosher your braces, then you drink cold water after that also? Or it's like not
Question.
so.
So again, yeah. So even when you kosher, the cold water is just the chatchila. Koshering your mouth is already a stringency. So you could. It's interesting. It's a good question, actually. I never did it that way with cold water afterwards. Because if you don't do right away. The thing is, I guess if you, no,
I mean,
if
it
you're
doesn't
able to
bother.
do it, if you're able to do it afterwards, the thing is, I don't know if it's gonna help, because you're doing it slowly, the time you're done, so much time went by from when you did it. I don't know if the cold water is gonna help at this point. I think it's too much, because the whole thing is astringency. So to do with the cold water, you could when you're done, if you can. I think it's too much. It's, I think, yeah.
Question, so there are some stringencies that are mainly about posturing, like
Like what?
posturing your mouth, is this like?
It's not a good Chabad. It's not a
Or is
Chabad.
this a general
It's no. It's not. No, it's not a specific Chabad stringency. That's a general, right? That's a general stringency about kashering the mouth. And of course, cleaning it properly before flossing, brushing. Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the countertops. If you kosher, do you also have to cover it?
If you kasher what the counter, you don't have to. We're strict. It's a stringency that's became minig Yisrael that people do it. It's people cover it in case the kashering wasn't done properly. You have to understand there's another problem with the kashering of the counter, which I didn't mention, and that is that theoretically one should kasher the counter inside a pot. Now it sounds funny. What I mean to say is that sometimes we put hot chametz on the counter. When you put hot, solid chametz on a touches area, the absorption is very strong, and the required level of kashering is to kasher it inside a pot, or using direct heat to a certain level. So, being that it's not possible to do that to counter because it can be damaged, so therefore the ideal way of kashering a counter is that as you pour in hot water, you also have a hot iron that you unplugged before. And as you're pouring hot water, someone goes with a hot iron. But the way I remember is for Mike, it could be damaged that way. Maybe other counters also. And not always it's possible to be able to do it. So therefore, whatever level kashering we're doing, if we're not using a hot iron, doesn't necessarily cover it 1,000%. It's still kosher, it's still accepted, but it's not 100%. So therefore, it's ideal to cover it. And also sometimes want to make sure what if you didn't kasher it on 100%. So the custom is to cover it too.
Rabbi Osdoba, what
Yeah.
the rabbi do with the verses again?
The charesis?
Yeah, how did he do it?
Okay, how did he do it? What the Rebbe did was that he had dry charesis, and for the first time when he dipped the water into charesis, he would put some dry charesis into his saucer under the becher and swish it around into the wine. So he mixed the charesis, the dry charesis with the wine. And then for the sandwich, he just used the dry charesis.
Thank you.
Yes.
A quick question. It's not about posturing, it's not about entire, it's about selling chametz.
Yeah.
So